I was born in New York City. My father was a violinist, a violin teacher, a music teacher, piano and violin. He did play in some orchestras in Harlem. And he always kept in touch with his roots. And so if he was giving a student recital, that student would play what would be considered a normal repertoire for that level of either violin or piano. But he always included a spiritual, always. So I've known about spirituals from a very young age, but music has never left me. I started when I was 2.5 with an itty bitty violin like that. And my mother was a nurse, registered nurse, and I think I came out as the perfect blend between the two. A lot of my training is in speech pathology and public health, etc. I don't practice violin very often, but I like to compose. I like to work with choirs and that kind of thing. When I was maybe 12 or 13, there was a man in New York named Buchanan, and he had a choir for young people. And mostly what they did were spirituals. And that was where I realize now I learned all of the spirituals that I know, because whether we sang them in concert or whether we just sang through them so that we would know them, he was the person who really endowed me with all of the things that I think about and know about spirituals. We were all teenagers. I was one of the youngest, but it went through the whole thing. I was in that choir for like, I don't know, 5 or 6 years. But I have a tear, like right here. I think it's I've been buked and I've been scorned. I sang that when I was 12 years old in a black choir in New York City. But it really, for me, is the most sacred music there is. Because at that age, I could understand that somebody had the experience that I'm having now. Hmm? And that out of it came this and this and this. Most of it is brilliant and good and touching. Some of it is horrifying. But it's all there. It's all there. You can learn almost everything you need to know about African Americans because the spirituals documented all of it. Some people would make a clear distinction between, for example, work songs and sacred songs. But I don't think that our culture divided things in that way. If we were working for something that was very sacred. It wasn't just, I need $5 for the next beer or whatever. We were working because that was who we were. That was how we used our energies in beneficial ways. That was how we created the things that we needed to keep on going. And that included the tools that we needed in order to do the work that somebody else was giving to us. So I feel like there is an adhesive, in a way, that glues us personally with our experiences, how we do things, because nobody is writing down how do you do X, Y, and Z. It's all in the music. And for Africans, our life is very functional. The things that we do because they have a function. They don't have a function, they can go away. But the function keeps us doing these things repeatedly and perfecting them and adding on to them. We don't look frivolously at the music, at the function, at the rhythms. We take all of that seriously because it's created for a purpose. And the purpose is not usually entertainment. That comes later. You know the chain gangs. If you were on a chain gang and you were going, and somebody else is going, It messes up the whole thing. You can't get any work done if we are not in agreement about the rhythm, where we focus the strength of what we're doing. We needed to have a vehicle such as music that would pull us together in so many different ways. Not only did we document everything that happened, but we documented the tempo of it, the frequency of it, the texture of it. Our music is our largest encyclopedia. I guess I have the most intense reaction when I meet white folk who are singing spirituals and really think they understand what they're about. And I'm like, well, I don't think it's complete. And then I get into, I start to feel a way about it. Like, do I want you to know? Because there are times when I feel like, well, can't we have our own history to ourselves? That is a fairly frequent thing for me. It's very complicated. And I think that many people here, and I understand it, feel that this is a free country. If it's out there, we can do it the way we want to. We can do it. We allow people to be who they are, do what they want, and to feel free to change things. That's where it gets real scary. Real scary. Because they do that for their own reason. And their reason is, I think we can do a fine performance of this. We can make money out of this. We can record this. We're documenting. I have to take a deep breath sometimes because maybe it's not yours to document. But on the other side of it, I feel like if we ourselves don't share this information correctly, if we don't understand the depth of the information, then we are part of the problem. Do you remember the first thing you heard? Did you see it performed? What makes the tone the way it's made? And why is that? That's not the way we sing it as Europeans. You understand what I'm saying? There are all of these things that we don't really discuss very often. We really don't. And I think white America has a way of just taking whatever it wants. We go through that. And sometimes by the time people decide that they can perform this on stage, it's been transformed. What we get is the European sound, perception. It's very different because for the most part, there may be no process for having learned what it is when this was created, or how we, in our lineage, has developed it to be in the space that we're in right now. We came here because we were brought here. And all of that defines what our music is about. At home, in all of those countries in Africa, their music does not come out of that origin. It doesn't come out of that necessity. It's not the story that they have to tell. First, I would say to them, what spirituals do you know? Not what are they, but what do you know? And I'd probably ask to make a list so that we can kind of put together, so how do you know that these all fit into this category? Okay. But I would also want them to understand that our lives are documented in the music that we've created. From maybe the first time we got off the boat and were rowing, to land. I can't really place a subject that somebody hadn't written a song about. It's all in the music. How do we give thanks for being on the earth? It's all in the music. And so, for me, spirituals define the communication that we had. And much of it was private, meaning me and God, meaning me and you, because you know which way I'm going when I leave here. So all of those things become very sacred for me. Spirituals also document who we were from the beginning of our creating songs, from the beginning of our understanding God in this culture, and all of the things that we find were taught from the Old Testament of the Bible. And how did we remember those things? We sang them. That's how we kept our stories. That's how we know what went on in slavery. So what happens is someone who wants to document something orally puts it out there. Those who hear it, hear it. Those who hear it and share it, those people hear it. But if you're not there, if you weren't there, if you didn't know anybody who was there, poof. So in some ways, it's happenstance until we get to the point where we have an agreement that these are things that are so sacred, we cannot risk having a generation that can't get it. It's a good thing that many of the songs that we created were collected. Whoever did that, I thank them.